Uh, uh, sorry. Hello, welcome to the Film Addict Show. I am your host, the Film Addict. Today, I. Steve McQueen is an amazing director. I know I said that last night when I did the Shame review, but I just finished watching 12 Years a Slave. My god. There was. There is literally no other movie that I think interpreted or portrayed slavery in a really brutal way than no movie can even come close to 12 Years a Slave. It is very hard. It was a very hard movie to watch. It. I mean, it was. I mean, take Django Unchained and make it like a little more intense than Django Unchained. That's how intense this movie is in regards to slavery. Steve McQueen, if he didn't establish his place as a great director, with Hunger or Shame, then 12 Years a Slave definitely put him on the map as a director to definitely look out for with it when he comes out with this next movie. 12 Years a Slave tells the story of Solomon Northup. Shit. Hold on, I got copyright. Solomon Northup, who who is a free man. He is a free man who is very talented on the violin. He's a musician, an artist, and who gets captured and sold into slavery. And as the title suggests, he spends 12 years in slavery, and in that time he's transported he moves through two plantations, and the main actor, played by Chiwetel Ejiofor, was was an excellent performer. He was amazing. He really showed the inner pain of being torn away from his wife and children, and it shows this movie really portrays his struggle in a very like in your face, very not documentary style, but um, like up front center. There is no sugarcoating in this movie. None, no like trying to make it watchable for everyone. No, this movie is very hard to watch, very difficult to digest, because I mean, it's a very hard movie to watch because this is a huge part of American history that we try to tend to forget or try to never let happen again. And this movie is a huge example is probably the best example as to why we should never implore slavery again as a form of labor. It is uh, Steve McQueen is an amazing director. His directing in this movie was so keen, in, so in your face that it was just astounding to watch. It was a beautiful movie. The cinematography was fantastic. Um, Along with the scenic shots of the South, the trees, the plantations, the cotton fields, all great. Um, the the girl who won, Lupita Nyong'o, she won Best Supporting Actress, and I can see why she won Best Supporting Actress. I think the scene that really gave her that Oscar. There's a scene where she plays the slave Patsy, who's a field slave, but also is a mistress of sorts by the plantation owner Michael Fassbender, who is incredible. I'm starting to doubt Jared Leto's Oscar win because of Michael Fassbender's performance. It was so evil, so masochistic. But anyway, he rapes her, and she he's trying to find her one day, and he's like, "Where is she? Where is she?" And she comes, and she says she only went, to the next door house to get a bar of soap because she picks the most cotton, and hence she is always dirty, always sweating, and she says that she is so dirty to the point that she makes herself gag, and so he and this scene is shot in a one take. It is a one take shot, and he like there is no cuts whatsoever. I mean, this is sort of I sort of noticed this is Steve McQueen's style. I mean, we see it in the movie Shame with the Brandon running away from his problems, but here we see the true duality of of slavery. Um, like it's all in one take, and we see him. You know, he doesn't want to whip her. Like you can see in his face that he doesn't want to whip her because he actually still has something for her. He still likes to rape her and everything, and he decides, and then he gives the whip to Solomon, which with the given slave named Platt, tells Platt to whip her. He tells her to whip her until she bleeds, until she can't, until he says stop. And you can see that he's just he has to do what he's told, but he doesn't whip her as hard as at first. He only he doesn't want to hurt her at all. And so and then and then we see the whip marks on her back, on Patsy's back, and we see her cry in anguish. We see her pain. We feel her pain. And it was like camera pans around the pole and around to Fassbender and around um to Platt, and then Michael Fassbender takes the whip, and then he just whips the hell out of her. And it was such a powerful moment, such a powerful scene. I'm sure that when Steve McQueen got the cut, like got the take, there was just no reaction from anyone. It was just so. Hold on, wait. I need to a little bit more light in here. Um, I'm pretty sure it was dead silent by the time this scene was done because it was just so awe-inspiring. So it was an amazing, but not as Brad Pitt puts it, amazing, but not in the good way. Such an incredible scene that was shot, and good. Brad Pitt doesn't show up until towards the end of the movie, but he has a very strong role into it. He's the rational white man, and he helps Platt out. Solomon he helps Solomon out and helps gain his freedom by the end of the movie. They Paul I inspect Paul I forgot Paul Giamatti was in this movie. He was like such a very vile slave trader. Like I mean, and there's a scene where he has all the slaves rounded up in a house, and there's potential buyers walking around, and he treats it like it's a fucking car dealership. How messed up is that? He treats it like it's a car dealership. He's just like, oh yes, he is big and tough. Look at this young lad. He's gonna grow up to be big, strong one day. He's got good gums. He's a good worker, and he's just selling. He's selling, selling, selling. And Benedict Cumberbatch has a not too huge role, but still a very good one as the plantation owner who sees the worth of Solomon, sees that he's not just a traditional black man, not a traditional slave. He actually has worth. He is smart, and it was just a very. Uh, I mean, I can honestly see why this movie. I can really see why this movie won Best Picture. Um, I at first I thought I really wanted Her to win because to me that was my favorite movie of the year. It still is. But I'm very satisfied that this movie won Best Picture. It was the right choice. It is well executed, well done. Music was great. Hans Zimmer. Although I thought I caught a section of the movie where I thought Hans Zimmer ripped off another artist's work, Adiago in D minor. So from the movie Sunshine by John Murphy, music by John Murphy, I thought he ripped that off a bit. But then I went and double checked and he actually didn't. It's all original, all good music, very good. Hans Zimmer is a fantastic composer. I mean, I still don't forgive him for the bombs, like the Inception bombs that are used in a lot of action movie trailers now. Ridiculous. But he makes it up with this very original musical pieces from the movie. Great soundtrack. Paul Dano, good to see Paul Dano in movies again. I mean, I remember him in Little Miss Sunshine. He was fantastic in Little Miss Sunshine, and he barely had any dialogue. Loved him in There Will Be Blood. As the preacher Eli Sunday, he was fantastic in that movie, and then he sort of just disappeared for a while. He wasn't in any huge major movies, and then he came back in the movie Prisoners, and now this movie where he plays an overseer who's just wrought with white hate. He he plays it out. He plays it beautifully, with such racism. And let's see who else was really good in this movie. Oh, I gotta talk about Michael Fassbender's performance. Michael Fassbender, who plays what's his name in this movie, Edwin Epps, the plantation owner Edwin Epps. So evil, so like he. I love the use of. I mean, for a slave movie, this had everything. For a slave movie, it had slavery, of course. It had um, whippings. It had rape. Uh, it had divine justification, religious justification for slavery that was very present in the movie, and it like if you find squeamish to this movie, then you should not watch any movies like this ever again. If you can't deal with the truth, then you can't watch. You shouldn't be able to watch movies that portray truth as it is or as it was. Um, it was a great use of colors with their outfits. The costume design was fantastic. It was a very excellent portrayal of the time period. What else can I say about this film? But Michael Fassbender, I don't know how Michael Fassbender hasn't won an Oscar yet. I don't. He totally deserves an Oscar win by now. I mean, he's been in. Well, I don't think 300 should count, but I mean, he was fun. It was a fun time to see him in that movie in his acting debut, and he was in *Inglourious Basterds* as Lieutenant Hickox, the British officer who was excellent. He was in *Hunger*. I haven't seen *Hunger* yet. That was Steve McQueen's first movie, and some would say Michael Fassbender's breakout performance. Um, he was excellent in *Shame*. He was fantastic in *Shame*, and he's even more fantastic in this movie. This is probably his best role to date as this evil plantation owner. I mean, my goodness, I just couldn't take my eyes off of him. Um, what else can I say about this film? I really appreciate this work. Like it needs to be shown. I think everyone needs to see this movie. Everyone needs to stare at this movie. Force yourself to watch it, because it's definitely a movie that you cannot just ignore. This is not a movie that you can't ignore. Uh, and this, I mean, I haven't read the book, but I'm sure it's a very accurate, close adaptation to the subject material. And this movie, oh man, no one best act Matthew McConaughey. Okay, I can see Matthew McConaughey winning, and I can honestly see Jared Leto winning that Oscar. But God, Michael Fassbender was just terrific. And there, and the script was really good. I mean, it had dialogue when it needed it. It had the words, it had the language, the speak of the time. The vocab was dead on. And what else? Cinematography excellent. Editing. I didn't feel like I was trapped with the editing. There were not a whole lot of close-ups, only when it was needed. No fast-paced editing, which I hate in some movies, unless it's completely justified if it makes it look good. None of that in this movie. It's pretty well done. As I said, music was excellent. Hans Zimmer always brings the best. Always brings 100% to every movie project that he does. Props to Steve McQueen. I mean, I'm pretty sure that the reason they didn't give him the Oscar this year was because he's like basically minted. He's mint fresh for the Oscars. Like he got nominated for Best Director, but it's his very first nomination. So usually a lot of the times the Academy doesn't give the Oscar to first time nominators. Um, I mean, Lu- Lupita Nyong'o was an exception. That was her first Oscar nomination, but it was very well deserved. It seemed like there would be no other choice for that category for Best Supporting Actress. Uh, it's hard to determine whether her was better or not. Definitely, this movie definitely had a more intense story, a more realistic approach to to the topic of slavery. Django Unchained was very accurate too, but it's a fictional story. That's a fictional story of two bounty hunters looking around plantations and getting his wife back. That's a fictional story. The topic is not. It does a very good job of portraying it, but this does a way better job, I think. It makes it more. This movie presented it. It's more. It was more realistic. It was more in your face. It was more incredible. It made you root for the main character all the more. And I love the scene in the graveyard when a slave dies from heat exhaustion. Some of the slaves gather and they start singing the song John the Baptist. Like in traditional Southern style, it really shows the birth of the jazz music. Jazz arose from this form of music that the slaves were singing, and then you can see him. He doesn't join in at first because he's just like, how can they sing at a time like this? You can see in his face, but then he just starts slowly. He slowly starts singing, and then he just gets into it, and he's just singing along, right along, and he goes, "This music is key is the thing that gives these people give us hope. It gives them hope. Music is what really got everyone through the tough times." Um, I honestly no other words to express how incredible this movie is. I say go see it. Force yourself to watch it if you have to, and that I need to see Hunger. I want to see Steve McQueen's very first movie. And I can't wait to see what he comes up with next. It's going to be an incredible movie project. I kind of hope he takes a hiatus though, because I love it when directors do that when they take a couple of years to pick a movie and then they do it. It makes it all the um, more exciting to wait for their next project to come out. So hopefully he does take a hiatus. But that was 12 Years Slave. I am your host, the Film Addict. Until next time.